All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And let me just go ahead and share screen here. All right. All right, and in this lesson, I want to deal with a particular story in the scriptures dealing with Joseph. Okay, and you can see I put in the thumbnail a picture. I try to look for an Egyptian woman, and I deliberately put something like that because it's gonna add a little bit more theme to the direction of the lesson. And as of late, you've had a lot of that spirit of the lack of fear of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, and men speaking on things such as adultery and other things, but mainly adultery, all right, which, as we know in the scriptures, is a sin unto death. It's a grave sin, okay, as if it's nothing, okay, which leads, it goes to show that a lot of these men, due to that lack of fear, of the Lord, they don't really regard these ordinances and the statutes of our power, meaning that adultery is nothing in their sight. Okay, sleeping with another man's wife is nothing in their sight. Okay, now as we're gonna see in this lesson, you're gonna see how I put the title, "How many of you men would have passed this up?" Okay, and in essence, what that translates to is how many individuals, how many of you men would have made this same decision that Joseph made. All right, in Genesis the 39th chapter that we're gonna read. Okay. So we have here Genesis chapter 39, verse 1. And I'm gonna go through this. It's only a few verses, okay, just to emphasize that point, because Joseph, all right, as we're about to read, was put in a very tempting position, okay? And you're gonna see why I said that in a minute, okay? And just like Abraham was put in a position where the Lord asked him to sacrifice Isaac, and now we read about it and we see what Abraham ended up doing, the decision and the path he ended up going on. And because of that, it makes that decision that Abraham made seem like something that we all would have done, or that we all would have done it the same way. But that's only because, being that we have our minds are exposed to that possibility, we think of it as, oh yeah, that's the common way. That's what at the end of the day we would do. But say Abraham didn't do that. Say you were the first person that the Lord asked to do something like that, and you had no prior knowledge of any examples or anybody in the scriptures who had done something like that, and the Lord came to you in this present day, or if you were in that time and told you to do something of that equivalent, would you have made the same decision that Abraham made? All right. So applying the same thing to King Solomon, for example, when the two mothers came to Solomon with their dilemma, with their issue about whose baby is who. Now, once again, we think, whoa, what Solomon did is very, yeah, I do that, but that's because you have heard of an instance like that. Now, if you were the king and you hadn't had any matter like this come to you before, you hadn't had any prior knowledge of a situation like this before, would you have judged the matter the same way as King Solomon did? And so, lastly, applying that to this position that Joseph was put in, if you were put in this position, would you have made the same decision as Joseph did, knowing the risks and consequences of both sides? And from the way that, going back to it, from the way that a lot of men are speaking, and the lack of fear they have for the Lord, not a lot of men would have passed this up, meaning, you know, basically said no and made the decision Joseph made. So now let's get into it. This is Genesis chapter 39, verse 1. It says, "And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh." Now this was after Joseph was sold to the Ishmaelites by his brethren, okay, or a few of them, I should say. Because when you read it, you find out that the other brothers did this without Reuben's knowledge. All right, and that's why when Reuben came there, thinking Joseph was in the well, thinking that he was going to deliver him out of it, he found Joseph wasn't there anymore. All right, and he was pretty much stressed about that. So the rest of Joseph's brethren, after they sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites, all right, at the behest or at the suggestion of Judah, they sold him to the Ishmaelites, and the Ishmaelites ended up went down to Egypt, and they ended up selling Joseph over there pretty much as a slave in Egypt. And so here we are, Genesis 39:1. It says, and Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him off the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. So the Ishmaelites bought him from his brethren, and Potiphar bought him from the Ishmaelites. Verse 2, it says, and the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. So anything that Joseph was tasked to do, it would be prosperous. And that would be beneficial for Joseph's master, because if you have a servant, you give your servant tasks, right? Tasks to what? To in essence benefit you, right? If you own cattle, you may have him take care of the cattle. If you whatever you own, you may have him take care of it. Now, if he's completing these tasks successfully, right, and everything he does is being made better, then that's benefiting you as well. So it says, verse 5, and so that's why it says that Potiphar, he took note of that. That whenever, you know what I'm saying, whatever I set this guy to do, he does it, and he does it very, very, very good. So it says, and Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had he put into his hand. So he basically put everything in charge of Joseph's hand, saying, so that built that trust. And he said, all right, this guy, he does his job, he's a good worker, and I can trust him. So he basically put everything in Joseph's hand. Verse 5, and it came to pass from the time that he made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. So everything was prospering for Joseph's sake. It says, and the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. So cattle, if he had oxen, sheep, whatever he had, crops, they all prospered because Joseph was in that house. Verse 6, and he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat. Meaning, he didn't concern himself with anything except for what he was going to eat, because he left it in Joseph's hand and trusted him that much. He said, look, whatever happens, you deal with it. Okay. It says here, and Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. Now, here we got to pause real quick and look into that, because pretty much verse 6 at the latter part, and Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. This is why you got to look into words, because it's actually going into Joseph's appearance. Okay, meaning that Joseph was a good looking, young man. So let's look up here, because you may think, oh, goodly as in, he was trustworthy and well favored, meaning that he was blessed, in terms of what he did, which is true. But when you go in here, it's more so dealing with his appearance. It says Joseph was a goodly. Let's look up the word goodly. All right, we have here tha'ar. It says shape, form, outline, figure, appearance. Right? So it says here, figure or appearance, beautiful, comely, countenance, fair, favored form. So his visage, his appearance. All right. It says, and let's look up the word comely. All right. And when you look up the word comely, it says here pleasant to look at, attractive. Now it says typically of a woman, but it's not only applied to women. And you have here handsome. And I believe King Solomon referred to himself as roughly paraphrasing, I believe he said I am dark but comely, meaning good looking. Okay, so Joseph, as the scriptures say, that he was good looking. Okay, his shape, his form, his outline. So he, likely had a good, nice, strong physique. And then it goes into, so we looked up the word goodly. It says Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. All right, when we look up this word favored, we have mara'ah, and it says sight, appearance, vision, sight. Okay, what is seen, meaning his outward appearance. When you look up the Strong's definition, you have here, especially if handsome, comeliness, all right, his looks, his visage. So in Genesis 39:6 is basically telling us how not only was Joseph prosperous, but he was also a good-looking young man. And if you look at the other translations, they'll make it pretty clear for you. The NKJV says, "Thus he left all he had in Joseph's hand, and he did not know what he had except for the bread which he ate. Now Joseph was handsome in form and appearance." The NLT says, "Joseph was a very handsome and well-built young man." And this is also going to be key as we keep on reading, because verse 7 says, "And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, 'Lie with me.'" Now, Joseph, right, being in Hebrew, is a slave, right? He's a servant in this household, and he's a good-looking servant. So she says, "Lie with me." And it kind of reminds me of what these Edomite women did during the time of slavery, because chattel slavery, there were instances of the mistress or madam or whatever, who would basically compel or order or force a slave to to lie with her, and then if she got caught or if anything of that sort, she could just accuse him of rape. But as you can see here, she says, "Lie with me." So now going back to the topic at hand about how many men will pass this up. That's why I put that picture. I put that picture on as a thumbnail deliberately, because that's how you get Jake to click on the video. They see something. Oh, what's that? They go and click on there. What's going on here? Right, and then here you go. Here's some notification. Right. So she's saying lie with me, meaning she's trying to get him and her to do things that they ought not. It says, verse 8, "But he refused and said unto his master's wife, Behold," now, once again, and I'm going to keep asking this question throughout. How many men would have refused? Now, okay, it's one thing. The first time it says he refused, right? Cool. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie with you. What? That's crazy. "Behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath into mine hand." Meaning that what Joseph was trying to convey to her was that his master, Potiphar, trusted him so much that he doesn't even know the things in his house, because he's left them all in my charge, and he trusts that I'm going to take good care of it. Verse 9, "There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against the Most High?" Now, hold on one second. Joseph just said here in verse 9, "How can I do this great wickedness and sin against the Most High?" So Joseph is referring to adultery, which is lying with another man's wife, as sin. But going to that argument of people who they think that the law wasn't there before Moses, how would Joseph know about the law? Why would he call this a sin? Because what do we know about a sin? Pursuant to 1 John 3 and 4, sin is the transgression of the law. And the scriptures tell you where there is no law, there is no sin, right? So how could there be sin if at this time there is no law? If the law didn't come until the time of Moses, What sin is Joseph referring to here? How does he know that adultery or laying with another man's wife is a sin? Because back then, before the laws were written down in the tablets, they were orally passed down and they were practical. Okay, meaning they were practiced, they were kept. All right, but it just wasn't written down like constitutionalized. Because just like a constitution, you don't first write a constitution and then say, okay, now I'm gonna live after this. Your constitution is based on your way of life. You live a certain way and you say, okay, we want this way that we live by to be the way of the land or the way of where we live. So let's officialize the way we live and the laws we follow, and let's make it a thing. So it's the same here. So back then, of course, they knew about not committing adultery and all these other laws, the sacrificial laws, and so on and so forth, murder, all of that. So Joseph is saying here, look, my master trusts me so much that he's giving me everything, and he didn't give me you clearly because you're his wife. So how can I then turn around and lie with you? You know, why would I? Why? That's crazy. That's crazy as hell. So now, when she first told him this was his reply. Okay, verse 10. And it came to pass as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her or be with her. So here's the key part. Here's the real quote unquote temptation. It says she spake unto Joseph. Matter of fact, let me look up the word spake. All right. I'm sure it just means speak. You have the bar. Let's see what they tell us. It says to converse, to promise, to threaten, to speak, to declare, to lead away, okay, to speak, to be spoken to. So she was trying to seduce him. She was trying to, get him to lay with her because she was basically hot for him, so to speak. Remember, we read that Joseph was a good-looking and well-built man. So she sees him and she wants him. And it says day after day, day by day, she kept on trying to, trying to get him to get down with the program, but he's not doing it. Now, you have to visualize what's going on here. We all know how women behave, okay? Especially when they're trying to seduce somebody. She might purposely come by where he's working. She might always send to call for him. Even though she doesn't need help, she might make it seem like she needs help. Oh, come here. Can you come get this for me? Can you reach for this? Can you pass me this? She gonna come and stand right next to him, look, shit like that. Okay? Bend down in front of him, turn around and walk all extra, all these kinds of things. But she is trying to get Joseph to lay with her. So now back to the question in the title, how many men would have passed this up? Now it doesn't say what she looked like, but if you you can infer possibly that she didn't look as horrible as some of these, more modern women. Okay, some. I said some. All right, not all, but some, because there are some, decent looking women today, but there are also some not so decent looking women today. So now this case is going on, and so the reason I'm saying this is because if you have individuals, right, that are okay, and I'm pretty sure that there are individuals who are in different camps that do commit adultery. All right, that do commit adultery, and that they just go about it like it's not a big deal. And whatever they tell themselves to be, I mean, it came out not too long ago that there was an individual who was a sodomite, talking about he relapsed. So if there were sodomites in the camps, how much more for adulterers? Because if you can come out and openly advise people to go commit adultery, and it's not a big deal, then so it is likely that in these camps you do have, all right, men that commit adultery, knowing what they do, and like I said, whatever excuse they tell themselves not to do it, they still do it. All right. And so in a case like this, where you're constantly being pressed by this woman, and she's doing anything in her power to get you, to seduce you, to get you to lie with her. So let's keep reading. It says, and it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, meaning to work, do his job, and there was none of the men of the house there within. So now it was just her. So Joseph wasn't the only servant there, but he was just the one that she wanted. Now, keep in mind, Joseph is still a slave. He is still a servant. So if it came down to Joseph's word against the wife of the master's word, clearly Joseph wouldn't win that, right? So you never know if she might have said, look, if you don't lay with me, I'm gonna say that you did, or you giving me looks, or you attempting to, because it's not always that. She might have first tried to speak to him nicely, but every time he turns it down, she might have then tried to threaten him. When we looked into the word speak, you have the word threaten in there as well. She might have tried to blackmail him. If you don't lay with me, I'm gonna say you did this, or that you looked at me, or you touched my ass, or you did this. Women do that. Okay, women do. Look at today. You got quote unquote Me Too movements all over the place. So he got to keep in mind, damn, this woman is she a real demon. And see, the problem with this situation is you don't even have to put yourself in it. The second you're in a situation like this and she targets you, automatically you're in it. Because she can cry, me too, and you ain't done nothing, but here it is. Who's gonna take your word? you know? And that's for you standing for being righteous. She can still frame you, as she did Joseph. And so you can have some individuals that may say, I ain't gonna do it. And then they might turn around and say, but damn, if I don't, she gonna blackmail me, and maybe they might kill me, or they might do something to me. Maybe I should do. Anyway, now let me actually pull this up in another translation. Let's see what we have here. Yep. So it says here, verse NLT, she kept putting pressure on Joseph day after day, but he refused to sleep with her, and he kept out of her way as much as possible. He stayed away from her. Now, let's apply this to a modern day example. Say you're in a workplace, and there's a woman there that she's not single, but yet she keeps on eyeing you, giving you looks, trying to get with you, trying to invite you places, trying to always be around where you are. Well, how do you go about handling a situation like that? Do you entertain that? Do you entertain her? Because the scriptures talk about sit not at all, right? Matter of fact, let me see if I can find that. King James. And you got to keep in mind too. This is like the situation with what's this man's name? Samson and Delilah. All right, you had the situation with Samson and Delilah, and you saw how after constant pressure and pressure and pressure, eventually Samson just said, "I F it," and told her. So women have a way with that. But what I was gonna look up was, oh man, I hope I remember this. Damn, what was I gonna look up? Ah man, I hate when that happens. Maybe it'll come back. Oh yeah, sit not at all. Sit not the water y'all by Shimmy Shy. I believe it should be in the Apocrypha. Sit not. There we go. You see this right here? Ecclesiasticus 9:9. Sit not at all with another man's wife. So Joseph did the right thing by avoiding the master's wife as best as possible, knowing what her intentions were. So she might send to call for him, and he might be out working, and he might, purposely, oh, okay, but he might purposely keep working and then come later and say, oh, I didn't, I had to really get this task done. The master appointed me with this. Find whatever reason or excuse he could find not to, not to get close to her. All right. So let's keep reading. Sirach 9:9. Sit not at all with another man's wife, nor sit down with her in thine arms, and spend not thy money with her at the wine. Today, what's one way of that? You take a chick out. If you spend your money with a chick at the wine, which is like a club or a pub or a restaurant, that's you taking the chick out. All right. So like, 1 second. All right. All right. So don't even entertain her. Stay far, far away from her. It says here, lest thine heart incline unto her, and so through thy desire thou fall into destruction. When you're around somebody, eventually you become fond of them, especially if they're not a demon. So you don't want to run that risk. And that's why, hey, like Apostle Gabar made a video, also going into it. He mentioned how women are not allowed at the camps, and he went into examples as to how in the old school, how a lot of adultery was going on, because one woman comes in, she might be dealing with one brother, and she comes in and she's looking at another brother or other brothers, and in process of time being exposed to that other energy, her heart can incline onto them. All right. I believe there was a similar situation, years ago, where you had this man and his wife. They came, and this was years ago, and they used to come and listen, and then come to find out later on that his wife, started looking at brothers, if you know what I mean. And you already know what we did. We told him, look, you can't come back here. All right. If you want to, you as a man, if you want to come, you come listen. If not, then your wife is not allowed here. All right. There's a reason. There's a reason the Lord in the scriptures. There's a reason we our manners were a certain kind of way. They weren't just random. No, they were designed around human nature. There's a reason you keep your woman at home. There's a reason other men don't need to know your woman, and there's a reason she don't need to know them. What use is another man gonna have for your woman ever? What use? You know, say if maybe he's looking for you or something, and he might maybe see her somewhere and say, oh, if you could you let your man know to give me a call, whatever. That's it. You don't gotta come up and, hey, Shalom, just come all close, give her a tight ass hug, and giggles and shit. What's that about? What's that gonna do? Right? So let's go back and read what we're seeing here. So Joseph did the right thing by avoiding not the Pharaoh, Potiphar's wife, because as we just read in the scriptures, that happens, and he already knew what her intentions were. But it took a real high level of faith and all right, like here. All right, a real high level of faith, and discipline. And that's why I'm gonna throw that question back: how many men would have passed this up? Say Potiphar's wife was quote unquote good looking. As today they'll say she was bad. You know, you remember you gotta picture what is Joseph going through right now. So it says, verse 12, and she caught. So verse 11 it says, and it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment. So now she said, "Fuck it, I ain't going to talk. I'm just going. Ain't nobody here. I'm going to take you." Yeah, could you believe that? She said, I'm going to take you this time." So she caught him by his garment, saying, "Lie with me." And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. So you got to imagine she probably grabbed onto either a sleeve or one part of the garment. So he had to be able to what maneuver himself out of the garment and slip out and escape. It says, verse 13, and it came to pass when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth, that she called unto the men of her house and spake unto them, saying, see, and really it's just demons, right? It was just heavy demons on her. She got so mad, so burned. She said, "Nah, this nigga, nah, 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 nah." So she calls and she says, "See, he hath brought in an Hebrew unto us to mock us. He came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice." So there you got your me too. So now she just framed Joseph when clearly this was not the case of what was going on. So this is also adding to the integrity of Joseph because he knew that this could have been a possibility where she could have framed him because it is likely that she probably mentioned, yeah, if you don't lie with me, I'm gonna say that you did, or I'm gonna say you did this, or I'm gonna say you did that. And now here it is. He's like, look, I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna sin against the Most High. I'm not gonna do that to Potiphar. I'm not gonna do that to the Most High, and I damn sure ain't gonna do that to myself. Because the consequences Joseph would have to face if he committed adultery would be far worse than anything else he would have to face by not committing adultery. So he gets framed. Verse 15, and it came to pass when he heard that I lifted up my voice. So she's telling them, look, he came in here, he tried to do this to me, and I screamed. And when he heard that I screamed, read it, that he left his garment with me and fled and got him out. So he ran away and he left and she laid up his garment by her until his Lord came home. Because remember, Potiphar was a captain, right? So here it is. She got the garment. She got Joseph's garment. Potiphar comes home. Oh man. Imagine what Joseph must have been going through. And his heart is probably pounding. He's like, oh my gosh, like, who's gonna believe me? Who's gonna believe me? So it says here, it says verse 17, and she spake unto him according to these words, saying, the Hebrew servant which thou hast brought unto us came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment and fled out. And it came to pass, when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, after this manner did thy servant unto me, that his wrath was kindled. Now, you have to also think about it in the sense that, remember, this is Potiphar's wife. It doesn't say how long he's been with her before buying Joseph, but clearly he knows his wife longer than he does Joseph, right? And so Joseph is a servant that is working for Potiphar. That is a man. And that's the scriptures talk about jealousy is the rage of a man. So when a man hears something dealing with somebody trying to holler at his chick, or if your shorty came over, yo, this dude tried to grab me, or he tried to sit, instantly, as it says, jealousy is the rage of a man. Because you know how men are. So he gets inflamed, he got pissed off, he was angry, his wrath was kindled. This mother, he tried to what? And what made it worse too is that she had his garment. She had his garment in her hand, and she's telling this story. And you know how dramatic women can be. Whether she needed to have some tears and cry and put on an act and try to make up a scenario. So Potiphar's upset. And on top of that, Potiphar is also on some, well, I gave you everything, bro. I gave you everything in this house. I trusted you. And literally like even Joseph said, the only thing I didn't give you was my wife. And that wasn't enough. You wanted my wife too? See? So now what's Joseph gonna say? She lying? I was coming to work, and then she grabbed my garment, and then when I had to run out, and she held my garment, and that's why she's saying that. Which one sounds more like an excuse? And once again, like I said, Joseph's word against her word, you know how it is, right? Look at it. Look like say go and take Bill Cosby's word against the whatever other women said that he did such and such to them, right? I'm just using it for an example's sake. Okay, more cases than not, if a woman comes out and says, "Oh, he raped me," and you say, "No, I didn't," the masses are going to lean more towards her side, just automatically. And then what makes it worse is if she has maybe, like, I don't know, your shirt. Oh Lord, She got your shirt. And she says, look, I got his shirt. He came here, he tried to rape me, and I screamed, and he ran and he left his shirt. She got your shirt. So you know what I'm saying? She's lying, but and the reason this happened this way was because ultimately the Lord set it up that way. So it says, verse 20, and Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in the prison. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy. So now here's the thing. Had Joseph said, damn man, she keep pressing me, and look at what she's doing, and she's, she, damn, look, oh my God. And and whether through lust or through fear of being framed, he laid with Potiphar's wife. Who then would have showed mercy to Joseph from the hands of the Lord? Potiphar couldn't do it. His wife couldn't do it. Nobody would have been able to show mercy to Joseph or to deliver Joseph from the Lord's hand, because the Lord would have been want to take his ass out. But see how when Joseph said, you know what, I'm going to maintain my integrity and trust in the Lord no matter what outcome comes of that, the Lord is able to show Joseph mercy in whatever situation he's in. The Lord is able to deliver him from the hand of Potiphar or the warden of the prison or whoever. So whenever you're put in a situation, it doesn't matter what the physical outcome may look like. If you stand firm, always stand firm and do what you know is right. Don't ever cross the Lord. All right, that's why the scriptures say it is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living power. Even if they say they're gonna kill you, take those chances than to try and save your life and instead make an enemy out of the Lord. So it says here, but the Lord was with Joseph and shewed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison. So now he put Joseph in a high position in the prison. So you see how everywhere Joseph went, the Lord was with him. It says, and whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. And the keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him. And that which he did, the Lord made it to prosper. So even in jail, even in the prison, the Lord still had Joseph's back. Why? Because Joseph maintained his integrity, and he trusted in the Lord and said, I'm going to do what's right, no matter what temptation I'm under, no matter what threat I'm under, I'm still going to do what's right. And this is 1 Corinthians 10 and 13. There hath no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But the Most High is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able. And we have to always keep this in mind, because we're going to face, as we do, but even more so coming up, more various kinds of temptation. It might not just be this kind of situation. Okay? But you can apply this example in any other temptation that you may face in your life, no matter what it is. It doesn't even have to be dealing with women, but just trusting in the Lord no matter what the outcome will be for you, no matter how tempted you are, no matter how many times you are presented with the opportunity to sin, or no matter how intensely you are enticed to sin. Always think, maintain your integrity, because that's what Joseph did. It says, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. And the sad, wicked part about that is, not about this, but about Israel, is that you have a lot of individuals in Israel that the Most High will make a way for you to escape, but they don't want that escape. They don't want that escape. They want to stay and do the wickedness. If that wasn't the case, they wouldn't have put Yahushua to death, because what was Yahushua doing? Yahushua was showing them the way to escape. If you're an adulterer, the Lord says stop committing adultery. That's your way to escape. Because if you keep committing adultery, you're going to be destroyed. But the second they found out that way, they got mad. Why are you exposing me? My conscience is already trying to bother me. Why are you making it worse? Why are you telling me this and that? And what I can and cannot do. They don't want, you have a lot of wicked Israelites that when put in temptation, they do not want a way to escape. So they can use that in their sick, twisted minds as an excuse to give in to the temptation. Because they can say, well, there was no other way for me to escape. So you can't blame me if I did it. Meanwhile, there was a way, but they shut that down some way. They don't want to see that. So they can tell themselves there is no way. Right? If there's a way, don't tell me what it is. That way I can tell myself, see, I didn't even know there was a way, so I did it anyway. That's okay. No, it's not okay. All right. So lastly, this is the book of Ecclesiasticus 10 and 23. It says, great men and judges and potentates, which are like a monarch or a ruler, shall be honored, which is true. Yet there is none of them greater than he that feareth the Lord. You hear that? He that feareth the Lord is greater than great men and judges and monarchs and rulers and people in high estate. If you fear the Lord, you're greater than them all. And Joseph clearly feared the Lord. And look at how much higher of a position the Lord put Joseph in. So once again, back to that question, how many of you men would have passed this up? How many of you would have done what Joseph did, or would have done the other and try to act like you all good and try to deceive yourself into thinking it's okay? Because situations like what Joseph is in, especially in today's day and age, they arise all the time. All the time. Shorty has a man. You know she has a man. She knows she has a man, but she won't leave you alone. She's trying to be flirtatious. She's trying to do this. She's trying to come around wherever you at. Whatever the case may be. Think about Joseph. Think about what he did, because that's why the scriptures say what was written aforetime was written for our learning. And the thing about Joseph's situation was she openly told him day by day, look, yo, come get this. Come hit this. Day by day, trying to seduce the man. So, I mean, Lord willing, there was a lesson learned from this video, and Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. Hey, with the times we're coming into, we're going to be faced with all different kinds of temptation. All right, not just the one we just read, but many different kinds as well. Okay, so yep. So, we ought to keep this in mind and, pray to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai that he gives us this strong spirit, in order to no matter what situation we're in, no matter what form that temptation takes, that we keep our crown and that we remain steadfast and unmovable in this faith. And Lord willing, we get that eternal crown. Okay. So yeah, with that, hey, the water for the precepts. Matter of fact, you know what? Let me just read this one right here real quick. This is Virgin Island Straight Gate, Proverbs 3 and 6. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. All right, beautiful precept. So with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodesh. And until next time, Shalom.